After rescuing a puppy from death row, I soon realized she wasn't a dog at all. Now I'm fighting to keep her, as the authorities threatened to take her away. I remember that day as vividly as if it happened this morning, arms full of grocery, bags fumbling for my keys when I caught sight of her. A small, trembling creature huddled in a crate in the back of a pickup truck. Her eyes met mine, huge, soulful, and brimming with a sadness that hit me like a punch to the chest. Her fur was fluffy, her face so expressive. I couldn't just walk away. The truck driver noticed me lingering and approached, wearing a tired look. He told me he'd found her near his farm, abandoned, he guessed. A pup who'd stirred up trouble by killing some of his chickens. Despite the chaos she caused, I could tell he wasn't heartless. He was doing what he thought was best by bringing her to a vet. I just can't keep her, he said, rubbing the back of his graying head. But I couldn't bring myself to leave her behind either. Something in me shifted. Maybe it was her eyes, or maybe it was fate, but I suddenly heard myself say, "I'll take her." The words tumbled out before I could stop them. "You sure?" he asked, clearly skeptical. "She's been through a lot. I don't know where she came from, but I was already reaching for my wallet. I can give you something for your trouble, and I promise I'll take good care of her." We stood there talking in the parking lot, my groceries warming in the sun as he laid out all he knew. She'd been wandering his land for weeks before he finally caught her. After what felt like forever, he agreed. I watched as he carefully lifted the crate from his truck. My heart was pounding, equal parts joy and nerves. She was filthy, thin, and yet radiant. Something about her tugged at me, something I couldn't name. "She's all yours," he said, taking the money. "But be careful, she's different, not like other dogs I've seen." I thanked him, probably sounding over the top, but I meant every word. Then reality hit me. How was I going to get a crate and all my groceries up to my apartment? After several awkward trips and some creative maneuvering, I managed. Once inside, I opened the crate slowly, giving her time. She crept out, cautious, nose twitching, eyes scanning every corner. I sat down on the floor, calm and still, letting her come to me in her own time. "It's okay, girl," I whispered, hand outstretched. "You're safe now." She eventually came close enough to sniff my fingers. When she allowed me to touch her, my heart melted. Her fur was softer than it looked, though matted and tangled. She needed a bath, a meal, a vet, but in that moment, none of that mattered. A connection was forming. "I think I'll call you Bella," I said softly. Her ears perked up. "Do you like that name?" Looking back, I realize how little I understood. I had no clue what I was stepping into. Just a gut instinct and a frightened creature in need. That first night, she curled up in a corner of the living room while I got ready for bed. I laid out blankets, some food, some water. She kept her distance, and I respected that. Trust takes time. From my room, I could hear her shifting around, exploring quietly. Despite the uncertainty, I smiled. Sure, my apartment wasn't dog-friendly. I had zero experience. But something about this felt right, like it was meant to be. I had no idea that this tiny act of kindness would turn into something so much bigger, that this scared, wild thing would change everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and responsibility. The first few weeks with Bella were filled with adjustments. My little apartment became our shared sanctuary, even if it was cramped. Each morning I'd wake up to her curled at the foot of my bed, her tail twitching in her dreams. She had this endearing habit of stealing my hats and hoodies, nesting them into a little bed in her favorite corner. I'd often find my beanie buried under a blanket, covered in fur but perfectly intact. Walks with Bella were a full-blown adventure. She walked with elegance until we passed another dog. Then she'd erupt into a ball of bouncing, yipping energy, dragging me along if I wasn't braced. People stared, some smiled, others steered clear. And then something changed. She started growing, fast. Her paws, once tiny, became massive. When she stood next to me, her head reached my hip. Her appetite was bottomless. People began giving us strange looks. At the park, owners kept their pets away. I tried brushing it off, but deep down, I knew something was off. I finally took her to Dr. Thompson, our vet. I sat in that sterile room, watching as he examined her with growing concern. He furrowed his brow, then looked up at me with a heavy sigh. "Ashley," he said gently, "Bella's not a dog. She's a Canadian black wolf." The words knocked the air out of me. A wolf? I'd been raising a wolf. In my tiny apartment, Dr. Thompson explained she was likely abandoned as a pup and raised by humans, unable to survive in the wild, but also illegal to keep in a residential space. He had no choice. He'd have to report it to wildlife authorities. I sat there in shock, stroking her fur while she nuzzled me innocently. My sweet, strange Bella. How could I let them take her away? She wasn't some dangerous beast. She was mine, my family. The drive home was silent except for her occasional sighs. I kept glancing back at her, seeing her, really seeing her for the first time. Her haunting howls, her wild, graceful movements. It all made sense now. That night, we sat on the balcony, staring out at the city. I scratched behind her ears and whispered, "We'll figure this out, girl. I won't let them take you." But deep down, I knew everything was about to change. The real challenge wasn't just learning she was a wolf. It was figuring out how to keep her, protect her, give her the life she deserved while staying within the law. The routine we'd built, the quiet comfort, it was all slipping away. As I watched her fall asleep, her giant frame stretched across the floor, I realized this was only the beginning. The road ahead was uncertain, maybe even impossible, but I couldn't imagine walking it without her, because that was the day I found Bella, or maybe the day Bella found me. I knew I had to try, no matter the cost, no matter the obstacles. I would do whatever it took to keep Bella, my wolf dog, my best friend. The day Carol from Wildlife Services came to my apartment, my heart pounded. She was tall, serious, clipboard in hand, her eyes scanning everything with quiet authority. She didn't speak for a long while, just observed Bella, her space, her behavior, our home. Finally, she looked at me, her voice calm but resolute. "Ashley," she said, "it's obvious you love Bella. She's clearly bonded with you too, but keeping a wolf in an urban apartment, it's not just against policy, it's dangerous." I swallowed hard, tears pressing behind my eyes. "I understand, but I can't just let her go. She's family." Carol studied me a moment longer before flipping through her papers. "There may be a path forward," she said more gently this time, "but it would mean serious changes, relocation, licenses, a proper sanctuary setup. You'd need a wildlife handling certification, secure fencing, enrichment, shelter, a full care plan." My head spun. It sounded impossible. "How long do I have?" I asked. "Legally, I should take her today," she admitted. "But I'll give you 3 months. Show progress, find land, begin the transformation. If not, she'll have to be moved to a sanctuary." That night, I sat in a sea of paperwork, zoning maps, and listings. Bella rested her head on my lap, her eyes shining with trust. I stroked her fur. "We'll figure this out," I promised her, even though I had no idea how. I sold my apartment, emptied my savings, and bought a modest 5-acre plot an hour outside the city. A worn-out mobile home sat in the middle, but the land was decent. Room to roam, trees for shade, and quiet. I brought Bella there, praying it would be enough. Carol visited soon after. Her expression told me everything before she spoke. "The fencing isn't secure," she pointed out, "and the shelter needs weatherproofing and drainage. You also need a long-term enrichment plan." I tried to explain I'd spent everything, but rules were rules. She gave me 6 weeks to meet the standards, or Bella would be removed. That evening, I sat on the porch, watching Bella explore the space. The sunset was beautiful, but I couldn't feel anything except dread. I began pulling away, emotionally preparing myself for goodbye. I stopped playing with her, avoided eye contact, brushed off her attempts to nuzzle. She grew distant too, unsure why her world had shifted. One night, desperate, I poured my heart. into a social media post. Everything from the rescue to the new regulations and the looming deadline. I didn't expect much. Maybe some sympathy or advice. What happened instead changed everything. The story took off. People shared it. Then, more people. A local news station ran a piece, my inbox flooded. Offers of help poured in. Contractors willing to volunteer. Neighbors bringing tools. Strangers offering supplies. A wolf sanctuary contacted me with design tips. A veterinarian offered free wellness checks. A construction company stepped in to install the drainage system. I went from being alone to being surrounded by an army of kindness. Carol continued her visits, but now she was invested in our success. "You've built a real community here," she told me once. "This is what responsible care looks like." I worked side by side with volunteers, digging, lifting, hammering, learning as I went. I had blisters on every finger, but hope grew with each fence post. Still, not everything went smoothly. On one inspection, Carol shook her head. "It's better, but still not up to code," she said, her voice soft but serious. 3 weeks left. "I'm sorry, Ashley. That deadline haunted me. I barely slept. I stopped cuddling Bella, trying to ease both of us into what I feared was the end." She noticed. Her eyes lost their light. She retreated. The joy she once radiated dimmed. Then one morning my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The post had gone viral. Donations came in. A retired vet who specialized in wolves arrived at my gate. People drove hours to help, bringing lumber, tools, even food for the crew. We worked like people possessed. The new enclosure came to life. Proper fencing, drainage, shade, shelters. A space not just to keep Bella, but to help her thrive. I started spending time with her again. Slowly, the light returned to her eyes. She wagged her tail when I came near. She watched the construction, knowing, somehow, that it was all for her. The night before the final inspection, I couldn't sleep. I sat outside her temporary pen. She pressed close to the fence as if to comfort me. "We did it, girl," I whispered. "Not just me and you. Everyone. All of us." That moment made me realize this wasn't just about Bella anymore. It was about what we'd built together. A home, a family, a community. This experience hanged me. It wasn't just about fences or forms. It was about resilience, love, and the unexpected strength of strangers who became friends. We didn't just build a sanctuary for Bella. We built a new life, and somehow in the middle of all that chaos I found myself too. I remember standing in the middle of that half-finished enclosure, dirt on my hands, sweat dripping down my back, watching a group of strangers, now friends, working beside me with everything they had. Some brought tools and materials. Others offered skills. Most simply showed up with open hearts and a willingness to help. The online community that had once just sent messages and donations had transformed into something so much bigger. They were helping build a dream, one post hole and fence panel at a time. The enclosure came together piece by piece, sturdy fencing sunk deep to prevent digging, natural enrichment zones made with fallen logs, native plants, shaded areas, and even a spring-fed pond where Bella could splash and cool down. Every decision was made with Bella in mind, not just to meet the legal requirements, but to honor her nature as a wolf. It had to feel like home. When Carol, the wildlife inspector, arrived for the final inspection, my heart was thudding so loudly I could barely think. She walked slowly, clipboard in hand, examining every detail: the shelter, the fencing, the drainage, the enrichment zones. I trailed behind her, trying to read her face, but her expression remained unreadable. After what felt like a lifetime, she finally turned to me with the faintest smile. "Ashley," she said, "this is remarkable work." She began ticking off boxes on her clipboard. "Your emergency procedures are solid. The fencing exceeds minimum height. The shelter is well built, and it's clear this is a thought-out, safe, natural space." I barely breathed as she wrote one final note, then handed me a piece of paper. "My official wildlife rescue license. Congratulations," she said warmly. "You've earned this." Relief flooded through me. I burst into tears, clutching the license as if it were made of gold. Bella, watching from her temporary space, let out a long, echoing howl, as if she understood that this was the moment everything hanged. Our volunteers, our extended family, erupted in cheers. That night we held a small celebration right there on the land. Bella was the guest of honor, trotting proudly through her new space, sniffing every corner, testing the pond, leaving her scent like she knew this was hers, her forever home. But that wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. My experience with Bella opened my eyes to something bigger. How many animals are out there needing help, needing space, needing someone to care? I began creating t-shirts and merch featuring Bella's story, and soon those designs were helping fund the sanctuary. People loved knowing their purchases supported real change. We finally had a steady stream of income to maintain the enclosures and begin expanding. Then came the call about the wild boars. 3 of them, left behind after someone's exotic pet project went wrong. They needed a home, urgently. Because of my license and our incredible support system, I could say yes. We built them a separate enclosure, and Bella watched with quiet curiosity as the newcomers settled in. Running a sanctuary isn't glamorous. It's long days, vet visits, mud, fence repairs, paperwork, feeding schedules, and weather that never cooperates. But there's joy too, watching the animals grow strong, healthy, confident. Bella has blossomed into a stunning, self-assured wolf, independent, powerful, and still connected to me in a way I can't explain. Some nights I sit on the porch with a cup of tea and watch her patrol her land. She moves with such grace, such purpose. She is, in every sense, a wild animal. But when our eyes meet across the field, there's still that spark, that thread that ties our souls together. Our social media continues to grow. More followers means more reach, more resources, more opportunities to educate. We've launched programs to teach about wildlife conservation and what it really means to respect wild creatures. Bella has become our ambassador, a bridge between people and the wild world they often misunderstand. When I think back to the day I stopped to help that scared, trapped pup, I never imagined this. I didn't know that single act would completely alter the course of my life. But love has a funny way of doing that, rerouting us, shaping us into people we never thought we could become. Because of Bella, I'm not just someone who rescued a wolf. I'm someone who's making a difference for dozens of animals, and hopefully inspiring others to do the same. And Bella? She's living her best, wildest life, free, respected, and still part of my family. She reminds me every day that sometimes the craziest choices we make become the best ones. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.